Welcome to Ever Living, a new podcast about valuing life here on Earth and for eternity. We're your life-living host, Jessica.
And I'm Jason.
Every week on Ever Living, we want to create a space for sharing the stories and voices of those who work and pray to create a culture of life here in New England and beyond. So, hi Jason, how are you?
Great. A lot of activity going on with the banquet coming up in a couple of weeks, and just really enjoying all the work. How about you, Jessica?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm currently in Maine. We were on campus today trying to find students to start a Students for Life group at the University of Maine, Farmington. So I'm busy with that. My Maine trip. So yeah.
A
But
lot of people spend a lot of money to go on vacation in Maine, so you should be fortunate.
yes, especially like this time of year, with the trees changing and everything. It was beautiful. We drove from Orono to Farmington. So we were at UMaine Orono yesterday, and it was like a 2-hour drive. It was beautiful. Like the highway was just the tree. We're like here at peak season, so it's great. Yeah. So today we have a special guest. Our guest is Steven.H.Aden from Americans United for Life. So let's welcome Steven.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Jessica. Thank you. Hello, Jason.
Great to have you, Steven.
Yeah, thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm very good today. Fantastic. Not as good as if I were in Maine, but I feel pretty good here in Northern Virginia. It's a beautiful day here.
That's fair. That's great. Yeah, no, it's been beautiful out. So, well, we're really happy to have you here. Could you introduce yourself to our listeners and just give a little bit of background on who you are?
Yeah, sure. Steve Aden. I head up all the legal department and the legal affairs of Americans United for Life. Been doing that for just over 8 years. I've been in nonprofit legal advocacy for close to 30 years, doing conservative legal advocacy. And the last 10 years or so, I have really found my passion in the pro-life movement. I consider it my life's work and the most important civil rights issue of our generation. So I'm delighted to be leading an exceptional team of policy advocates, lawyers, litigators, law students, interns, externs. We have a great team, and we are very, very busy. And it's just delighted to be with you.
That's awesome. We're so glad we have you in the fight for life with us. It's wonderful. And I know a bit about AUL because I interned with you guys a few years ago. So that was a great, really wonderful experience. Could you tell us a little bit more about some of the things that AUL does? Just maybe a little bit more about its history and whatever you would like to share. That'd be great.
Yeah, I'd be delighted to. Americans United for Life, we like to say, is the original national legal advocacy organization for life. We were founded in 1971, 2 years before Roe versus Wade, and we've been involved in every abortion case in the Supreme Court since then, in addition to a lot of other things. Americans United for Life is probably known best for 2 or 3 things. First, we are the foremost policy advocate in the states and in the federal Congress. Some years ago, USA Today did a research project where they said, well, we've got over 400 of these bills coming out to protect life across the states, and they wanted to find out who was behind all these bills. And they concluded it was Americans United for Life, and we're very proud of that. We are at the forefront of legislative advocacy, as I said, in the states and on Capitol Hill in Congress. I hope that in a few minutes we'll be talking about our Make Birth Free initiative, and we are engaged on a lot of other things. We were behind some of the best provisions of the Big Beautiful Bill as well. We camp on policy. That's our sweet spot. That's our main thing. We also do litigation. There we're best known for having defended the Hyde Amendment before the U.S. Supreme Court in the early 80s. That's the provision that's been in every funding bill since the late 70s, and that keeps federal tax dollars from going to elective abortion. So we do a lot of advocacy in that space as well. We file briefs for members of Congress in the U.S. Supreme Court. And we're we're very privileged to do that and to express the pro-life views of so many great pro-life leaders in the House and the Senate. And there's a lot of other things too. We have a terrific summer program, as you know. We had 12 fantastic students, both undergraduates and law students, and we're growing and building that program each year. So if anybody who's listening is an undergraduate or law student and would like to have a fantastic summer working with us in DC, please get a hold of us.
That's a great offer, Steven. I didn't realize. So you said that AUL defended the Hyde Amendment back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So how long has AUL been around?
1971. That Hyde Amendment case we litigated through the late 1970s, and the man who argued that case before the U.S. Supreme Court was a law professor named Victor Rosenblum, who was a fairly progressive Jewish guy. And that just shows how much of a big tent we are. We've always been nonpartisan. We've always been collaborative, working with a number of different organizations. We have good friends across the aisle and good friends of all stripes. So that's one of our distinctives and something we're very proud of also.
That's amazing. And I know you mentioned the state legislative. I know that that's how I encountered you guys is one of your wonderful lawyers was up here in New Hampshire testifying, I think it was on a constitutional amendment to extend to legalize abortion in the Constitution to all 9 months. And that was when my eyes were open. So can you just talk a little bit about what does it mean to be a state policy advocate?
Yeah, sure. We have a terrific state policy team led by Brad Kerr. Brad has been at AUL for a while, off and on. He took a time out to work for Senator Lindsey Graham for the House Judiciary Committee. He's a very accomplished and experienced and effective lawyer, and he leads a dynamite team as well. What we do is, first, we offer just about 45 model pieces of legislation that state lawmakers can pull off of our website or ask us for. And they're on a variety of topics ranging from, of course, limiting abortion, protecting women from the harms of abortion, licensing, different things like that, to bioethics, and defunding Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry. So there's about 45 pieces of model legislation that we have out. And we work with state lawmakers to tailor those to the needs of individual state legislatures, including, in your case, New Hampshire. And we send lawyers to testify in support of those bills, the ones that need to be passed, or sometimes to oppose bad bills that don't need to be passed. Last year, we testified, I think, in close to 60 different bills in dozens of states across the country. So we're growing in that area and becoming really more effective each passing year.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. No, you guys are doing wonderful work. So you mentioned the vision for Congress to make birth free.
Yeah.
Could you speak a little bit more to that? Because that's something I knew that you guys have been doing, and I've actually been mentioning that to students on campus when I'm talking to them, and they're like, oh, you have to have abortions because people can't afford to have birth and to give birth and things like that. So we'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the problem is that births, even with the Affordable Care Act, are really not affordable. The co-pays and deductibles start at like $3,000 to $5,000, right? That's after insurance. And the reason for that is, even though preventive medicine, different things like even sterilization and contraception are not subject to co-pays and deductibles, are basically free. The insurance company pays for it. The same isn't true of everything related to prenatal care, delivery, and postnatal care. That seemed unfair to us. So we created an initiative called Make Birth Free, which is just what it says. We want to make birth free to those who are covered by insurance, and say, fair is fair. You are subsidizing contraception and sterilization. It's time to go the other direction and support the choice for life. And Initially, it was taken up by now Vice President J.D. Vance. He was very high on the initiative. And then when he became Vice President, it was taken over by Senator Hyde-Smith from Mississippi and Tim Kaine from the Commonwealth of Virginia, our own state right here. So it's a bipartisan bill, and we think it's a common sense bill, and it's getting some traction on Capitol Hill. We hope it passes. We do think that the president would sign it into law because it's just a matter of fairness and common sense.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. And I think that speaks to exactly what you're saying about, like, talking across the aisle. And I think bipartisanship and on issues like this are just so important. So yeah. I was really happy to hear that you guys were doing this, because I think that a lot of people can get behind that and support it. So yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah. So the other question I had was just like, and obviously you spoke to some of the court cases that AUL has been involved in the past, but what are some of the current court cases that you guys are working on?
Well, the big thing right now is we represent the whistleblower teacher in Fairfax County who saw things happen back several years ago and called out to the administration. She said there were two girls, one of whom had gotten an abortion. It looked like the school had paid for it and arranged it. And then the second girl, they tried to browbeat into an abortion, telling her it's your only option. You need to do this. In both cases, didn't tell the parents or guardians. And so they essentially, the allegations are that they were engaged in secret abortion trafficking. We don't know if that's still going on, but we represent the teacher, Mrs. Zenaida Perez, who's a wonderful, godly woman. English as a second language teacher, has been for many years, always has received sterling reviews. Her kids love her. The parents love her. The administration, not so much, because she tends to call out things that are unjust and wrong like this. And so they've retaliated against her in some very severe and significant ways since then. Well, to make a long story short, we've been representing Mrs. Perez for about a month and a half, and so far, there has been a tremendous deal of media attention. We're grateful to Fox for interviewing her twice, once in English and once in Spanish. We're grateful to Senator Bill Cassidy of the Senate Health, Education, and Labor Committee, which has sent a letter to Fairfax County demanding answers, demanding to know whether taxpayer funds are being used to promote abortions in the public schools here in Virginia. And now the U.S. Department of Education has launched an investigation into Fairfax County public school system, also demanding to know if the rights of students in this instance have been violated by circumventing the rights of parents who are supposed to care for the students in extreme circumstances like this. So there is a great deal going on, and also, of course, the inevitable possibility of a lawsuit. So we are so blessed and grateful to this incredible outpouring of support, both in the public. So many people have contacted us and said, you go, I'm a parent, this can't happen in my state. The trouble is, unfortunately, that it can. There are states that think it's a fundamental right for minors to get an abortion without their parents even knowing about it. We know and believe that that's a violation of parents' fundamental right to direct and control their children's upbringing and their medical care. That fundamental right of parents is recognized in the Constitution and by the U.S. Supreme Court, even though the so-called fundamental right to abortion since the Dobbs case is no longer in existence. So we really appreciate all of the attention, especially from Capitol Hill, from the Department of Education, the Trump administration, trying to set the record straight that parents come first. And that's our message to both Fairfax County and every school system across the country. Parents come first because parents are the ones who care for their children. And the school administrators are not in the place of parents. They're not raising the kids. Mom and dad are, and they need to be involved in a life-changing decision like this.
Yeah, not just that, but what about the safety of the girl too? Who's looking out to
Mhm.
make sure that there's nothing really bad going on, or looking out for her
Oh yeah.
interests as well.
Oh
We
yeah.
actually had that happen up here in New Hampshire it's like a year or two ago, where it came out that a teacher had taken a student for an abortion, and then she
Mhm.
got fired, not because she took the student for the abortion, but because she lied, and
Mhm.
said she was sick when she took a sick
Mhm.
day, in order to take the student. And so, thankfully, the legislature here in the last year decided to say that teachers can't take a student for any medical procedure with express. I forget exact details, but
Yeah,
basically school districts can't take students for medical procedures unless it's life
yeah,
threatening.
that's great. It's federal law, by the way. The Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment says that no school district that receives federal funds, and they all do, can take a student for a medical procedure without parental knowledge and consent. So that's the reason that the Department of Education is investigating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uh, shifting gears a little bit. Can you tell us about the AUL Pregnancy Hub?
Yeah, be happy to. Americans United for Life is privileged to be the policy advocate in all 50 states for three fantastic pregnancy center and adoption and foster organizations. CareNet, which is an extensive um, collection of pregnancy centers across the country, Heartbeat, likewise, and then Lifeline, which does work in the adoption and foster space as well as in the pregnancy center space. So the Pregnancy Center Advocacy Hub is a way to employ big data and digital advocacy and connect with um, lawmakers anywhere in all 50 states or on Capitol Hill that are considering a bill. So, for example, if a bill is running in New Hampshire that would provide benefits to pregnancy centers, we can create a campaign that connects thousands of our supporters, pregnancy center supporters, CareNet, Heartbeat, and Lifeline supporters in New Hampshire, and gives each of them the power to send an email, whether of their own or pre-written by our campaign, to their lawmaker. It's delineated by district so that it's going to the right lawmaker. And the bottom line is that it's an incredible tool for grassroots advocacy. We've had thousands of engagements on dozens of different issues over the last couple of years that we've had this online, and we're building it and ramping it up all the time. So it's a real privilege to be the policy advocate for all of these incredible pregnancy center organizations because, they've really made the difference. The last 20 or 30 years, in my estimation, law has had a big part of it. Don't get me wrong, I'm a lawyer, right? And we also have had a big part to do with overturning Roe. It was our strategy, really, crafted by our senior counsel, Clark Forsyth, that chipped away at Roe until it became a shadow of its former self and ultimately was overturned, thanks to three great nominees on the court by Mr. Trump. But the bottom line is that it's the pregnancy centers and 40 Days for Life, the sidewalk advocates that have been the silent witnesses who have told us really how devastating abortion really is to women, as well as to babies, of course, and the lost generation because of that. And we love and want to protect all of those amazing advocates for that reason. And so we're very proud to partner with Lifeline, CareNet, and Heartbeat. And we're adding new partners all the time. And so if you're interested, go to our website, aul.org, and go to something called State Spotlight. That shows at a glance everything that's happening in every state house across the country. So if you're in New Hampshire, you can click on New Hampshire and you'll see what bills are running in New Hampshire. You won't see anything right now because it's out of season. But come January, when the session opens up, you'll see what's running, what the status is, who's sponsored it. And if you want to speak into it, you have an opportunity to do that. So the Pregnancy Center Advocacy Hub and our larger global pro-life advocacy hub which advocates across all issues that relate to life, are a big part of why AUL is so successful.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. I think, like you said, I think pregnancy centers are the ones that are really on the ground doing this work. And I always love initiatives and things that support the work that they're already doing. And we can come, alongside them to help them.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing I think of is like Students for Life has an initiative called the Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities. And what we do is we go door to door and tell people about their local pregnancy center.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know that they exist. So like we get to be the outreach arm for them.
Yeah, so glad to hear that.
Them. So
yeah, love our friends at Students for Life.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah. So thank you for sharing about the Pregnancy Hub. We definitely appreciate it. And then, could you tell us a little bit more about the Center for Client Safety?
Mm-hmm. Center for Client Safety, folks have probably not heard about, and that's by design. CCS is an organization that's been around for about 5 years, and it has really met a need in the pro-life movement that was urgent, but not being met. That was the need to take these great laws that AUL was seeing passed and get them enforced, because sometimes they were languishing on the books, and the medical regulatory authorities or the state's attorneys general have not been enforcing them. Center for Client Safety takes these laws, notifies state officials, hey, these things are unlawful. It looks like abortion facilities in your state are doing this, and asks them to crack down on them and enforce the law. And they've been very effective. Their work has resulted in the closure of several abortion facilities across the country, passing new laws. An informed consent law, for example, in Wyoming was largely the work of Center for Client Safety. And they're just getting started. So Americans United for Life is proud to have partnered with CCS. We have actually formally acquired them, and they're a part of us now in many ways, both in heart and in program, because we think the world of these folks. They do incredible dynamite work. And now AUL, in addition to being the leading policy advocate, getting these great laws passed, now has an arm, the Center for Client Safety, that sees these laws effectively enforced. And it's just a real dynamic duo. We're very blessed to have it online. So yeah, thank you for asking.
That's amazing, Steven. I think as we've seen the different research coming out from especially EPPC on the mifepristone, the abortion pill, what we're seeing is that these abortion centers, even though they say they're for the woman, it turns out that their complication rate is 20 times that on the label.
22 times higher what the FDA said it was.
Yeah, so I think it's great that part of AUL is actually looking out for the safety of women by making sure that these abortion centers are complying with the laws.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. It's a very sobering statistic, that 22 times statistic. Let me break it down for you. So our friends at Ethics and Public Policy Center have been working with us to lobby the Food and Drug Administration and Health and Human Services to recognize that the danger to women from mifepristone, chemical abortion, is much worse than the FDA ever thought it was. So the FDA label says that the adverse event rate for taking mifepristone is about 0.5%. What we now know, based on 7 years worth of what are called aftermarket insurance user data, right? These are all the insurance. It's called all payer insurance claims. Millions of lines of data. Over 800,000 instances of chemical abortion in the last 7 years. This is big data in the way it should be used, because the FDA had a few studies that weren't great and were tailored to get the result that the maker of mifepristone wanted to get when it asked FDA for approval. Now we know how it really works in practice on the ground. And so as a result, we now know that mifepristone's adverse event rate, the bad things that happen, medical emergency is a good tagline for this. The medical emergencies that result from mifepristone are between 10 and 11% of all chemical abortions. So more than 1 in 10 women will experience a medical emergency, which warrants a trip to the emergency room. 1 in 10. When was the last time you took a drug that you thought might result in a 10% chance of going to the emergency room with severe complications? I don't think I would take that drug, and I don't think you would either. So we want to get the word out about this all-payer claims data set. FDA is aware of it. They're studying it. Secretary Kennedy has said they are taking a close look at this data. Dr. Makari of FDA has said the same thing. We're hoping and praying that they will recognize that science comes first, that now that we know how much more dangerous mifepristone is than the FDA ever said or thought it was, that they'll act accordingly and take this thing off the market. So, can we cut there? I lost my earbud and I have to find it on the floor. Can we cut and come back?
That's it, no problem. Yep. So, Jess, what do you want to do for the next?
I hope you can cut that out. I hope you can cut that out. If not, then that's life.
Reality television, when that was new, everybody loved reality TV. They wanted to see the nitty gritty.
Right. Yeah. I
love reality television.
I think that's most of the things you want to talk about. Jason, did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask?
Well, since we have one of the foremost legal pro-life minds in the country here with us, I just wanted to ask. I hear a lot of discussion around the Comstock Act, and my lay understanding is that is a law that actually says you can't send abortion pills through the mail. Can you talk a little bit about that and what happened to it?
Yeah, it has said that since the 1870s. Because, abortion compounds have been around for hundreds of years, right? This is just a new way of doing it that's supposedly more medicalized. So in the 1870s, Congress passed the Comstock Act, which, among other things, said you can't mail abortifacients in the U.S. mails. And then a subsequent federal law applied the same rule to common carriers like UPS and FedEx. It's against the law. And yet it's done everywhere all the time, with abortion pills being mailed from pro-abortion states into pro-life states. And the pro-abortion states like New York, Vermont, Illinois, California, purporting to shield their abortionists with these so-called shield laws, saying that you can't bring enforcement action against abortionists that live in our pro-abortion states because we're protecting them. You can't have a post-Dobbs regime of pro-life states if abortion pills are flooding in across the border from pro-abortion states. It's just wrong. We want the Comstock Act to be enforced. The way it would be enforced is if the U.S. Postal Inspector General were engaged, as well as U.S. attorneys across the country, to see what's coming through the mails and starting enforcement actions, right, against these abortionists from across the Atlantic or across the Pacific. Some of this is coming in from China, some from India, other places. There's an abortionist in the Netherlands named Susan Gompertz who's made a career out of sending chemical abortion across the ocean, and in fact was warned by the FDA in the first Trump administration not to do that because it was against the law. Now we have enforcement actions by the state of Louisiana against an abortionist who sold pills across the border that resulted in a girl having an abortion against her will because she was forced to, and then another one in Texas under similar circumstances, resulting in a civil lawsuit. So sooner or later, the Supreme Court is going to clear this up. But right now, there's nothing that stops the federal government from enforcing the Comstock Act except political will. except political will. And we think that that fair is fair. If the administration and the courts are really sincere about the post-Dobbs regime, where every state gets to pick whether they're pro-life or pro-abortion, then let the pro-life states be pro-life, enforce the Comstock Act, prevent these pills from coming across the border, and then we'll compare the culture of life that is nurtured in pro-life states with the cultures of death that are growing in pro-abortion states. And I think that people will vote with their feet when they see that. They already are. They're moving in droves from California and Illinois and New York into southern states that are pro-life. Everybody knows it. Quality of life down here is so much better. So yeah, that's part of it. And we hope that the Trump administration is paying attention. We know they are engaged on these issues, and it would be so simple and so easy to instruct the U.S. attorneys and the postal inspector to simply enforce federal law. We hope they do.
When you're mentioning that, Stephen, I was thinking back to the slavery times, and you had the slave states who were trying to, for instance, they had laws that said you can't advocate for abolition in slave states, and so then the abolitionists would mail things into the slave states because that was going through the postal service, and there was nothing they could do about it. Do you feel like we're kind of going back to a time during where it's just very reminiscent of this class of people do not have human rights, and this class of people do? Do you feel like we're going back towards that?
Yeah, there are a lot of parallels, as you mentioned. The U.S. Supreme Court in the 1850s in the Dred Scott case said that slaves had no rights that free men were bound to recognize. That was wrong then. And we think that Roe was wrong in the same way. Thank the Lord, it is gone now. But we've got a lot of work to do to create a pro-life culture and a pro-life Congress, pro-life states. What is key is that, as we were talking about earlier, people understand what abortion really is and does. It's not a blob of cells. It's a human being. Biologists admit that human life begins at fertilization, when the DNA of a unique individual human being is formed and provides the plan, the roadmap for the incredible person made in the image of God that they will be from that point on. And they begin developing into that being. So I believe that, as the 14th Amendment says, we are all persons. Every human being, biologically speaking, is also a person. There are no human beings that don't deserve protection, both in law and in the Constitution. So we're working hard to make that happen.
Well, you guys are doing amazing work over at American Genetic for Life, Steve, and we really thank you for coming on our show today. And I asked you if you had a Bible verse to share. Do you have a Bible verse you'd like to share to close us out this evening?
I do. It's in the Old Testament. It's one of the great prophets who tells us that the eyes of the Lord move to and fro throughout the earth, that he may strongly support those whose hearts are completely his. Since the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk, a lot of people have reassessed their commitment to what's true and right and good, especially those of us of faith. And as a result, I'm so glad to see that many are reconfirming their faith in Christ. And that's where I want to be. I know that's where you want to be. And I am looking forward to seeing a tremendous revival sweep this country. And with it, a recognition once again that God is the author of life. We are all made in his image, and no one has the right to take that life away.
Amen.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen. Well, thanks again, Steve. We really appreciate you coming on the show.
My pleasure, Jessica. Thank you, Jason. God bless you and have a great day.
God bless you too.
God
Bye,
bless you
everyone.
too.
Thank you for listening to the Ever Living podcast, a podcast by New Hampshire Right to Life, New Hampshire's oldest and most active pro-life organization. You can learn more about our work and learn how to get involved at www.nhrtl.org. If you would like to donate to our mission, you can make a donation at www.nhrtl.org/donate. See you next week. May God bless you and be very near to you, and may you be ever living.